Taehyung had gone crazy. He didn't let Jungkook even step a foot on the floor, preparing breakfast on his own, doing dishes, cleaning, whole household work on his own. Jungkook felt embarrassed and giddy at the same time seeing him. Embarrassed because he made Taehyung do household chores, and giddy that Taehyung loved and took care of him this way. It made him realize that Taehyung, unlike other people in his life, cared for him genuinely. Taehyung even informed Mr. and Mrs. Kim about Jungkook's pregnancy and practically ordered his mom to come to their place and take care of Jungkook and the child. Mrs. Kim accepted the offer gladly. "So just list down the things you don't like, I'll throw them out. Only the things you like will stay here," Taehyung chimed in. "Here's a list of maternity doctors, just choose one, we'll book appointment. I want my child and my husband to be healthy," he continued. Jungkook smiled while nodding. He loved this version of Taehyung. He was loving the affection. He didn't want it to end. Maybe this was the time to let go of past and embrace the present, he thought. Taehyung was an overprotective father. "Okay, damn. Ate this, I don't want." "Geez, okay." Jungkook laughed nervously as he opened his mouth to eat the fruit. Taehyung happily fed him. "You need to follow a strict diet for a healthy baby. We're not taking no." As an answer he ordered, and Jungkook smiled sheepishly, mouthful of fruits. Mrs. Kim chuckled seeing the couple. She realized how good of a decision it was to marry Taehyung to Jungkook. They have grown into a loving couple. She got up and patted Jungkook's head lovingly after kissing the back of his head. "Ate well, my baby," she spoke lovingly. Jungkook nodded. All these days he was overwhelmed with affection. Mr. Kim, Mrs. Kim and Taehyung were just too much loving towards him. It was like after so many years, he finally got the family and love he yearned for. He was so thankful to his destiny for this. Jungkook was standing in the balcony, looking at night sky as air brushed on his face. He closed his eyes, taking in the soft breeze. His trauma never triggered him after that specific night. Taehyung made sure to never hurt him. He felt so lucky to have a man like him in his life. He was healing. His baby was healing him. His family was healing him. His husband was healing him. It felt like everything and everyone around him wanted to overcome the horrendous past and live his present to the fullest, and he will gladly move on from that. Suddenly he felt a warm figure engulfing him. He smiled as the arms were wrapped around his waist and a chin placed on his shoulder. "What are you doing?" the elder asked, pout adorning his lips as he gazed at the beauty of his husband in the moonlight. "Just taking some fresh air," Jungkook replied, rubbing the back of his hand soothingly. Then they both looked up at the sky, some of them twinkling too, which brought smiles to their faces. "Kook," the elder called in Jungkook in reply. "I love you," Jungkook stilled. This man is gonna be the death of him with these big confessions out of nowhere. Taking in the information, his face flushed as he looked down. "I wanted to tell you since a long time, so I love you too, Hyung," Jungkook replied shyly, making his husband blush this time. Jungkook leaned back, placing his head on the elder's shoulder, airbrushing his hair away from his eyes. "I have always loved you since I saw you from the aisle," the younger confessed, and Taehyung grinned widely. "Oh my god, that's something I didn't know," he joked, and Jungkook giggled. "Well, now you know," Jungkook replied, earning a kiss on his lips from the elder. He turned around to face Taehyung, getting on his tiptoes to cup his husband's jawline between his sweater paws as he leaned forward, hovering his lips on the elder's. "I love you," he confessed again. "I love you too," Taehyung replied, eyes closed. Then the distance between their lips was eliminated as their breath mingled. They tasted each other, lips overlapping each other as they stood on them. Taehyung held Jungkook's waist firmly, pulling him towards himself as he kissed back with more passion, tilting his face to the side. Jungkook smiled into the kiss. The kiss was pure, filled with love, devotion, longing and acceptance. Oh, it felt so euphoric to be in love. It is really a Kiapano. I have been such a bad father to you. I don't deserve an angel of a child like you. Mr. Jian sniveled as he held his son's soft palm between his rough hands. But I already said I forgave you. You're my father's and I'll always love you no matter what, Jungkook assured as he hugged him, placing his head on his bulky chest as the other patted his head lightly. Taehyung silently scoffed seeing Mr. Jian act that way, sitting on the couch across the father-son duo, judging them silently. So the thing is, Mr. Jian was finally back to his senses that he lost few years ago. Well, let's say his fatherhood revived when Taehyung bought his major company shares and made the company go on the verge going bankrupt. In order to be good in his son-in-law's eyes, he had to make up with Jungkook. As if the money he received from Mr. Kim after the marriage wasn't enough. But Taehyung made sure his company suffers for almost 2 months until he met Mr. Jian and put forth this condition to apologize to Jungkook in exchange of letting go his company. And as a typical greedy man, Mr. Jian agreed along with his wife who was now fake crying seeing the father-son hug warmly. Taehyung rolled his eyes, but this was the best for Jungkook. If Jungkook would still stress over his abusive fathers and stepmom, it would have affected his mental health and the child inside him furthermore. So that's why he blackmailed Mr. Jian into this. Jungkook giggled, his happiness not being able to contain it inside as he smiled widely, squealing in happiness as his stepmom got up and kissed his forehead. So cute bunny, she spoke in her high-pitched voice, and Jungkook smiled further, hugging his mom after while she patted his back soothingly. After talking, gossiping and having a family conversation, the Jian couple got up to leave. Jungkook too getting up along with them, one hand securely under his 4 months protruding belly. "Take care, little one," Mr. Jian said while lightly patting Jungkook's belly, talking to his grandchild inside the womb. "Grandpa can't wait to see you soon." Jungkook giggled, looking at Taehyung with heart eyes who smiled back, seeing Jungkook so happy for the first time. He really craved his father's love for his entire life, and he finally got it, because of his husband of course, but that didn't matter, neither Jungkook had any idea about it. Taehyung back-hugged Jungkook when he waved goodbye to his parents, jumping on his heels and giggling like a kid. Jungkook had really changed after getting pregnant, getting happy too soon, getting sad too soon. His mood swings were amusing. Sometimes he was all squealing like a kid, while some other time pouting and whining the living lives out of his cuteness. But Taehyung loved and adored it all. He loved his husband in all ways. Taehyung could have made Mr. Jian suffer more, but he knew that no matter what, Jungkook would never want his father to suffer from problems. The boy was a tad bit innocent and pure-hearted. He didn't want to hurt Jungkook further, so he decided to end Mr. Jian's misery with the apology. Jungkook was finally happy, all the tensions of his life had vanished, and his mind was at peace. He had healed with Taehyung. Jungkook was restless. It was midnight and sleep was nowhere in sight. He whined, moving here and there on the bed and turning sides. He looked to his side where Taehyung was sleeping calmly. His chest heaving up and down as he breathed, eyes half open as usual. He got up, resting his back against the headboard as he caressed his belly. "You're not going to let me sleep?" He talked to his baby as he pouted. He looked again at his husband, who was probably having the best sleep. Seeing him sleep like this when Jungkook wasn't, made him irritated. He doesn't know why, but he didn't want his husband to sleep. So, he decided to wake him up. Hyung, he spoke cutely as he poked the elder's cheek with his finger. Hyung frowned in his sleep and turned away from the younger. Jungkook pouted more, carefully holding his belly as he turned Hyung on his back. He slumped on his husband, placing his head on his chest as he poked him again. He whined. Hyung slowly opened his eyes, looking at his husband sleepily. "What happened, doll?" he asked groggily. The younger pouted more, tracing circles with his finger on his chest, and not getting words to express himself. Hyung threaded his fingers in his hair, soothingly massaging them and attentively listening to his husband, who sighed deeply. "I don't know, Hyung. I just feel restless, and I want to," he halted, pouting and flushing in a deep shade of red as he sat straight, straddling his husband, who looked at him confused. "You want to?" Hyung questioned as Jungkook hid his face between his palms, eliciting a weird, embarrassed sound from his throat as he spoke. "I want to," he somehow managed. Hyung understood his context and laughed. It was Jungkook's pregnancy making him act this way. He had become more sensitive, cute as well. But Hyung wasn't complaining. The elder back-hugged him, placing his chin on the younger shoulder. He nosed the other's neck and back of ear, fanning his warm breath on his nape, which left Jungkook breathing heavily. "My cutie doll, waking your husband in the middle of night to have joked," and Jungkook gasped, covering his face again. The elder pinching his cheeks a little in adoration as he made his husband lie down on the bed on his back.